Hi, this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, and I am super excited to welcome Jen Lehner as my special host today, my co-host today. Jen's a digital media strategist and one of my favorite social media experts. I've done some training with Jen on her fabulous the front row Facebook group, and not in her special program because I've got other things going, but I'm going to let her tell you about that later. I recommend it highly for people who are wanting to ramp up their social media presence and make sure it's working effectively for you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Jen, tell everybody where you're from and just a little bit of your background.
Sure. So I'm currently in beautiful Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland. And I'm from the South, all over the South, not really one particular place, moved my whole entire life. But if you hear a little twang, that's from the South, South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi.
I can do twang. My family's from Kentucky, and my grandmother lived up here in Michigan ever since she was in her 20s and died just before 102. And she still said, "You all come back here and now you here."
I love it. No, you could take the girl out of the South kind of a thing, but you can't take the South out of the girl. And I'm a digital marketing strategist. So basically that means that I spend my time learning how to use all the digital tools that are available to us today. Totally fires me up. I think when we know how to use this stuff, it's really it's a new form of literacy, and I think it's important, and I think it's empowering. And so because I'm so passionate about it, I really just, I would do it for free. Actually, I do it for free all day long. I have a Facebook group, as Kat mentioned, called The Front Row. And I'm not as busy in there right now because I'm working on a special project, but really every day I spend my time answering questions. I love to do tutorials. I have a whole library on YouTube that's just nothing but tutorials, and I don't know everything for sure. But when I learn something good or I find something that works, that's effective, I love to just tell everybody about it right away. So,
and I love that. Yeah. And I love that you give it the no BS approach. If you don't like something, you tell us why you don't like it. And if you like something, you tell us why you do, and you tell us what we could use it for. Not just this bright, shiny object. It's like, here's this tool and here's how to make effective use of it. And Jen's always at the forefront because this is her business. This is what she focuses on. And she mentioned it. Lots of freebies, tons of freebies, all actionable steps. And that's what we love. And that's why I was so excited when she said yes today. So we want to maximize our time today. So we're talking about social media profiles. What are some fast action steps that we can take to look at our profiles and make quick changes that are going to help improve our effectiveness on social media? Can you pick the platform?
I love this topic that you chose. I should have, maybe I'll turn this into a webinar at some point because I think it's great. It's our social profiles are our business cards. And, when unfortunately, it's like we tell our kids, brush your hair, and they say, "Mom, I don't care how my hair looks." And then we say, "Well, unfortunately, honey, the world does judge you by first impressions. And so brush your hair." And it's kind of the same thing with our social media because this is the only way initially how people see us. So what I always say is first and foremost, hire. I was going to say purchase the best photographs, but actually hire the best photographer that your money can afford. That you can afford. And if you can't afford anyone at all right now, consider doing a trade. But I would discourage people for, getting cousin Sally or their best friend who may have a fancy camera and takes pretty good shots at the family reunion. That's not what I'm talking about. Someone who really understands photo branding kind of a thing. Look for lifestyle photographers in your area. If you live in a small town, there's somebody that's going to be able to give you a really nice photo shoot because there's something so legitimizing. For right or wrong, it's just the way it is. Like if you have good photos, it lends you instant legitimacy. Yeah. Right. So people are so if our profiles have these nice, polished, professional photos that conveys the convey the image of ourselves that we want to convey. Then the next step is to make sure that our branding is consistent. You know, there are courses out there, and there are whole schools that are just based on branding. Branding is so important, but I took a different approach for myself, and, you know, you could take it or leave it, but I'm all about like, let's just make a choice that we like, let's stick to it, and then move on. You know, you can go into Facebook groups and you can see people with their mood boards and their branding boards and their fonts and their this, and everybody vote and let's get feedback. It's fun. That's why it can be fun. And it's an excuse to not do other stuff. So,
yeah.
You know, I mean, we can just get so caught up in that. I love it. I could just go to Pinterest and, oh, I like pink and orange, and, oh, I like this font. There's so many choices and stuff. So I say, literally just, you pick it, make sure you like it, because you're going to be looking at this stuff day in and day out, and then write down 3 fonts that you like, a brush font, a serif font, and a sans serif font. One's used for headings, one's used for text, and one's used sparingly for like embellishment. So, and subheadings. So you do that, paste it somewhere on a Trello board, in your Evernote, so you always have it. I literally have sticky notes on my computer of my hex codes. It's the next thing. You pick your colors. So you got your branding on point. And you want to make sure that if you pick sky blue #4173 and your font is railway and this, that's going to be on Twitter. That's going to be on your Instagram and on your Facebook and anywhere that you are. Right. So those have to be mentioned. That all by itself is going to make everything look better. Strategy wise, it's all about our banners. So I want everybody to click, maybe not right this second, but at some point, like when we're done, click on your banner of, let's say, pretty much everybody has a Facebook page. So if you look at your banner on your Facebook page, what does it look like? And is it announcing what you've got going on? And here's what I mean. First of all, and so Facebook and Twitter, really everybody except for maybe Blab and Pinterest, offer us an opportunity to really brand out our banner, put tons of information with no rules. So you can put anything you want in there. So if you have a freebie or an ebook or a webinar coming up or whatever, you can change these out, get 12 times a day. It's super easy. So they're dynamic. They're not static. So what you want to do on Twitter and Facebook, for example, is have the default be a freebie that you have going year round. Okay. That's always your one. Default. Pardon me?
An evergreen one.
Thank you. An evergreen one. And so on that banner, you're going to put like, click here to get your free ebook. And you could, in canva.com or PicMonkey or any of these services, or Spark, yeah, or we're loving Spark these days. You could put a little button, create a button. Now that button itself isn't necessarily clickable, but your whole banner is. So when you go back to your Facebook page, click on your banner, and you'll notice that that it pops up with a box on the side. You could put a whole darn blog post in that space if you wanted to, and tons of links. So it'll say, click here to get my freebie. When they click it, that's going to pop up, and that's where you can put a lot of information and a link for how they can get that freebie. That's just like a bare minimum, super easy thing to do that doesn't involve any kind of third-party software or anything like that. Like we can all do, like, for sure that.
Right.
Then on your Twitter page, on your Twitter banner, these are humongous. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not on Twitter that much. And nobody really looks at my profile. I mean, because the truth is, when we are using Twitter, we're usually like on our phone. Notice that mine is smashed to bits. Lovely that happened right in the middle of my launch. But anyway, we're looking at it on our phone, and we're not necessarily looking at people's profiles. We're looking at their tweets running across the Twitter feed. However, what I'd love for you to do is go to your Twitter account, then go to Twitter Analytics, and it's beautiful. Like, Twitter Analytics are beautiful. Even if you're not super into Twitter, you'll be able to see how many people in the last 28 days have viewed your profile. And unless you're just not on Twitter at all, like zero, you're going to be shocked at how many people.
I was shocked. When you told us that before, I was shocked. There are things that I still need to do. I don't know why I've got an echo going on here.
You sound good to me.
But it was probably because some Contagia work going on earlier. What I learned from you about Twitter, because I was dismissing Twitter because I didn't have time to sit there, and it was going too fast for me, you know. But you literally showed me how to slow down time on Twitter to make it work for me, with the banner, with the little 30-second welcome video, which is getting done, and lists, using the list on both Facebook and Twitter, you know.
L is for lists. Everybody. Yes. And you know what? Facebook has lists too that are incredible, friends lists and also interest lists, but that's a whole nother blab. But yeah, so Twitter has this beautiful banner, and people are looking at your profile. And LinkedIn, let's not forget about LinkedIn. If you Google yourself, log out of Chrome, okay? So that log out of your browser or log in as anonymous or incognito.
Yeah, right.
Then go into Google and Google yourself and see which of your profiles show up. Even if you're not active on LinkedIn, whether you want this to happen or not, it's going to be one or two of the top things that show up on Google, as well as your Facebook profile. And Twitter will probably come in beneath that. But so people are going to search you and they're going to see you. So the very least that we can do is make sure that these profiles are working for us. Beyond being pretty, they can be very strategic. So back to Twitter, same thing. You could say, if you have a webinar coming up, click here to sign up for the webinar about so-and-so. You draw an arrow in Canva. You can do an arrow that's sort of pointing over to your bio. In the bio, Twitter automatically prompts you to put a link in, like a default link to your website. But in your bio, you can put a bit.ly link, a shortened link, which you create over at bit.ly.com, and it shortens any long, ugly links. And you could put that in your bio, so you can have two different links if you want going on. Mm-hmm. Then, so it's working for you when people come and look at your profile. Oh, and you've got the pin tweet that Kat just mentioned. So you can pin a tweet just the same way you can pin a post to Facebook. And I recommend that tweet be, if you have something special you're promoting, then have it be that. So when they come back between your bio, your header, and your pin tweet, it is very clear what you've got going on. But the evergreen stuff, have it be just a generic explainer video, which we just did this in my camp as a project. We use spark.adobe.com. It's a free desktop application that allows you to create these little explainer videos. I must say videos, they're more like moving graphics, in about 5 or 10 minutes. And they're fantastic because they don't need to be longer than 5 or, they make you make it in 5 or 10 minutes, but it ends up being just a couple minutes long. Should never be longer than that. You could pin that to the top of your Facebook, to the top of your Twitter. So you've got these little storefront windows on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, and they're working for you even when you're in bed. Those are just some things off the top of my head.
Right.
I take a breath and let you speak.
I just wanted to add about the fonts, okay, which is something that I know a little bit about. And you mentioned having 3, and no more, definitely no more than 3. Your banner can have a decorative font if you want. We're talking about headlines, subheads, and then maybe an accent font or something. One way to tell whether your fonts work together, if you're drawing from different font family names, is to do the age test. It's AGE. If you look at the lowercase a, G, and E, and make sure that they are similar. So, G's sometimes have the figure 8 for the tail, and sometimes they have the little hook. The same thing with E. Sometimes they're very straight across, and sometimes they're not. And A sometimes are more stylized or straight. Even if you're trying to pair a serif and a non-serif, look for font families where the A, G, and E in lowercase have a similarity, and then you will know that your fonts aren't competing in decorative style or visual style. They won't be jarring. Viewers may not be able to pick it up, but there will be something about how they're matched that will be off-putting to them. So you want their visual experience to be seamless. So that's one of the little graphic arts tips I learned when I trained with Pamela Wilson of Big Brand Systems, who's an award-winning graphic artist. So that's my little tip for today.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. Do we have questions from the people in chat? There is a seat open if you'd like to jump in. Jen, make sure you get your some links in there to the front row if you'd like. I was having a little computer problem, so I apologize. I didn't have all my links in a row this morning.
No problem.
By the way, while she's typing those in there, John Morris, who's in the house today, will be my special guest next week. He's an awesome artist, painter, musician, writing and singing. He is also a youth minister, and he is from Scotland. Cute as the devil, girls. Okay. Young, recently married. He's a newlywed, about a year and a half now, I think, John. And he's got some awesome advice, and he's had phenomenal growth with his business, which is primarily what he does best and loves most, and that's painting, and building a painting business where you're painting landscapes. Look at the beautiful one behind Jen there in her mural. Her backdrop is great. But he also does people portraits and pet portraits. And he did a tour of the United States a few years ago. He had enough international people that had friended him, and we all got to know him, that he came over and did a tour of the United States and had some speaking engagements. So John's going to be the guest next week. Jen, tell us about summer camp. What's going on?
So summer camp is, I'm looking at your, give me 2 seconds. I'm fixing this code so that it takes people to the page so they could see more about it. Otherwise it's going to take them to just something really generic. But summer camp happens once a year, and it's a one-stop shop, really, social media school, and digital stuff, not just social media. So like all digital tools, and it's soup to nuts. So it's for the very, very beginning online entrepreneur, or just anybody who wants to learn how to use social media. And it goes all the way to very advanced trainings, and it's step by step. I've even, so there's lots of videos in there, but this year what's new is I've created a fast track version for each channel. So all the major channels are in there: Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I'm sure I'm forgetting one. And so they're all in there. Very comprehensive library of up-to-date current instructional tutorials. But then I made a fast track for people who just like the quick start guide, and we've got guest experts coming in for our campfires every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, virtual campfires.
Yeah, we've got virtual campfires, and we've got the best in the business, like Vivica Von Rosen, who literally wrote the book on LinkedIn, and she's just a lovely, lovely person. She's going to be there teaching LinkedIn. And then Jeff C., who writes for Social Media Examiner, he is the host of the Manly Pinterest show. It's amazing. He's going to be teaching Pinterest. Then Sue Zimmerman, Instagram. Just powerhouses in social media. Valerie Shootman, who does all the Facebook ads for John Lee Dumas and Nick Unsworth and all that. She's including an entire course within my course called Mastering Facebook Power Editor. You also get, which is Facebook advertising, which is so crucial for business. It's like, you just can't get away with not knowing how to advertise on Facebook, unfortunately, and Facebook doesn't make it easy, but once you learn it, it's so powerful. And then Jenna Sword, who I'm going to put her.
Oh, right. I went to her the minute I saw you talking about her, because she was one of your guests that I hadn't known about before. And talk about a person whose branding is consistent and it's over the top. It's not something that I could pull off, but it's her. I mean, you know it's her from the tiniest little period at the end of a sentence to the first hello, you know?
Yeah. No, she's a genius. She was like a lead or head graphic designer at Nike. She taught, and she's young, very young, and she taught graphic design at a University of Oregon. But so she started in graphic design, and she's brilliant, but then she started creating courses, and her way of creating online courses is so smart. It's different than anybody else I've heard. And also she's really good at joint ventures, not just affiliate partnerships, but how to work with other people to grow your own email list and your own community. So it benefits both people, like really authentically, to find those right people to connect with. She does some of the most creative things, and we're actually going to be having a webinar together on Thursday on that exact topic, and I cannot wait for it because she's going to teach me a ton of stuff. But she's putting her entire course, which is $997, it's brand new. It's called Fancy Funnels. She just had a 6-figure launch, like $300,000 launch. She doesn't have a big list, and she started her launch before that was like $60,000. The next one, $300,000, and it's all because of this stuff that she puts into play. Anyway, so she's just so fun to listen to and so amazing. And so she's putting her entire course in my course, and conversely, summer camp is going to be put in her course. So we exchanged bonuses, and this is just another one of her joint venture sort of brainstorms that she does to grow her business. So
exactly. And that's a little tip for those of us who aren't at that level of income generating. Just because you can't do everything that somebody else is doing, you can still grab the tips that are best for your level and start implementing them now. You know, I've done a lot of JVs where we've exchanged our programs as the bonuses. Not a lot, but I've done enough that it's been worthwhile, and I will definitely be doing that again. We're coming up to some time here. We do keep this fast and actionable. So if you're in the chat gallery and would like to put your own links to your website or to your own freebie, I always offer that option. Jen, if you have the link also for the front row, if you're expecting
I did put that in there. And we do have a couple questions.
Yeah, we do. Cindy, write it for you, asked, oops, just disappeared again. You said your branding should be the same. Should the banners be changed at the same time among the social media platforms, or should you rotate them when you are putting up the temp offers? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, it is. So I think that, okay, so like if I go and change, typically the way that I do it, I mean, I suppose you could really test it out and see what works best for you. But like if I'm promoting a webinar and I'm going to go to the trouble of creating a special banner to promote this webinar on Twitter, in canva.com, they have a new feature that you just click resize, and it will automatically turn that banner into all the sizes that you need. So you might as well go ahead and do the one for Twitter and for Facebook and everywhere else. And then it will save them all into a nice little file folder for you. And then I'll just change them out across all platforms, because if you're promoting something, then you're hitting the airwaves, the blabs, ideally, okay, in a perfect world, you're blabbing and you're live streaming and you're interacting in Facebook groups and you're launching Facebook ads. And so it's all about that thing that you're launching. So yes, you know, I do change everything out at that point. And then if you have stuff that's evergreen, you know, then I think if you're changing it out enough for special promos and freebies, which we really need to be creating this stuff kind of on a regular basis, then your evergreen isn't going to sit there very long anyway. So I don't know if that answered the question or not.
So basically, yes, if you're promoting something and building your list because of that promotion you're offering, it's best to have it across all your platforms so it's consistent.
Exactly.
And in lieu of that, do the best you can instead of not doing anything. That's what I find a lot of people do, is they don't do anything because they're afraid they won't do it perfectly. And then they think, I don't have time to do it everywhere, so they don't do it anywhere. And that's such a big mistake. Start somewhere. I've
Progress,
got things
not
on my,
perfection.
right. I've got things on my social media banners that I'm ready to change. They are consistent across the board, but I'm getting ready this fall. I'll be launching my Jumpstart Your Success. It's a boot camp for home businesses. And so we're going to start gearing up some of the launch stuff for that soon. So that's going to my way of pushing myself to change some of my banners and get in the groove here.
And that's okay. I mean, the truth is, like doing these little graphic things and all that, ideally, really, I believe that it's great to have an assistant to do that. I have a free course called How to Hire and Train Your First Virtual Assistant, even if you don't think you need one.
Yeah, which I just did.
And my process is really, it's extremely affordable. You really won't believe it. And there's a system, but that's really, your assistant should be doing that stuff for you, and you should be creating the content. I have a couple questions. Are the campfires recorded? Absolutely. Most of our campers actually don't make it to the live webinar, and they'll submit if they have any questions, submit their questions in advance. We ask the specialist during the campfire, and then it's recorded and you have access to it. And in fact, summer camp is lifetime access, and it's lifetime access. And we have monthly coaching calls for an entire year, which is something that new that added this year. And should the freebies be as opt-ins on your website then? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Your freebies, because they're building your list, it's just so every single thing we do. And honestly, it seems easy for me to say now, and it seems obvious to me, but I'll be honest, for probably the first year that I was, really looking at digital marketing as a business, this wasn't super obvious to me. But we have to have a list building mindset. And I wasn't convinced of that, because I don't know about you, Kat, but I was like, well, I hate getting selly emails, and I don't look at most of them, and I get too many emails. So I'm so good at social media, I'll just keep it over here. But we can't reach people exactly when we want to necessarily over here on social media. So our goal with Twitter, with Facebook, with those banners, with everything we just talked about, is to, it's like, putting the carrot out there, then bringing them back into our email list, then pushing back out through email, really awesome, valuable content over and over again, so they look forward to getting your emails. And when it comes time to sell something through that email, they're going to be, that's where they're going to buy from you. And if you think about it, really, most of us, with regard to online, we did buy through an email link. Even if that takes us to a sales page or somewhere else, we did get there probably through an email. And the email is how we really came to view that person as someone we trusted, combined with all the social media efforts. So yes.
Absolutely. And I had a thought, and it just went like a bird nerd. It just flew right back out and rolled right off the screen.
Sorry.
It'll come back. We're talking about the freebies. Okay. If you don't like some of the tactics of people who are emailing you because you got on their list, pay attention to that, because it's likely that people that you will attract to your business won't like it either. So just because other people are doing that, email you 3 times a day, 7 days a week, doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I don't do it that way because I know that's not what my market, my prospects, my clients want. If I'm helping them get rid of overwhelm and frustration and being stuck, I don't want to be part of the problem.
Right.
So you have to know who your audience is. The other thing, and this was what just flew back in, is it's great to have a huge list, but it's even better when whatever size list you have is very targeted to the people you speak to, the people who resonate with you. Smaller lists can be more effective than huge lists of people that are just on your list and never read your emails, right?
That's exactly right. But if you're doing everything right on social with your opt-ins, that's who's if you're targeting right on social with your, and you have the right opt-in, then the right people are going to be getting on your list. And you're exactly right. I mean, I've had successful launches with 600 people on my email list. So it absolutely.
Right. Great. All right. Last few minutes. Could you share with listeners and those, because I know we've got a lot of people planning to catch the replay. Tell us a little bit about using lists.
On Facebook or Twitter?
Your choice.
Okay, so
I take that back. Do Twitter, because that's the one I didn't realize was so powerful. I got the one on Facebook.
Okay, sure. So Twitter basically, as we all know, when you look at the Twitter feed, it runs like a news ticker or ticker tape. And you just think, why would anybody bother over here when the tweet is here and gone? Who can read anything? This is so stupid. It was the last social channel that I adopted. And when I finally learned it, I've fallen completely in love with it. I look at it as a utility. So even if I don't want to talk or share, what I tell everyone, Twitter is for everyone, because if all you do is use it as a listening device, it's amazing. So what Kat is referring to is when you have an opportunity to create a list in Twitter. And when you do that, do you want me to show my screen really quick?
If you can.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I'll show you, I'll just show you this. Showing in this case is probably easier than telling. And it's super simple.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to go.
I'm glad Blab's cooperating today. Sometimes it doesn't. And while you're bringing that up, Walter's got at least 2 times a week is appropriate for email. And that's a generic guideline that is true for a lot of people. It's not true for everyone, though. You have to know your own personal niche. I'm gearing up to do 3 a week, but one's really just a follow-up that people will be expecting. So do I count that as one of my 2? No, when it's 3. All right, Jen.
All right, forget it. I have to go back because I had to change my my password. This morning, I got an alert that there was some weird activity, and I can't remember my password. So I'll just tell you really quickly. Basically, when you go into Twitter, you have the opportunity to create a list, and it can be public or private. If it is public, when you create it, then someone gets notified that you added them to the list. And if it's private, they don't, and no one can see that you even have the list. But what this allows you to do is segment. And you don't have to follow people to put them in lists. So the first question I'm always asked is, oh, awesome. Well, if I put everybody in a list, can I send a tweet out to that whole list? No. Twitter is already spammy enough, and that's the last thing that we would want. But what it allows you to do is, so if I put in Cleveland media, okay, and I actually have a list called Cleveland.
Because you're near Cleveland.
Right. I live in Cleveland or suburb of Cleveland. So, and then I also have national media, but I have it in a list. And when I click on that list, I've added all these people to the list. When I click on it, I see all their real-time tweets rolling by, but I'm just seeing what's happening with them. I could drill down to, people, family members, or people who were at a conference with me, or people who purchased my course, or people in my industry who are thought leaders that I need to keep an eye on, so that I can hear, all the latest news, or Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram themselves, like their official corporate accounts. And you would have the equivalent, all of you watching, in your own niche, in your own industry. You have those people that you need to stay on top with, industry accounts, industry publications, and that sort of thing. So it's incredible because it's the freshest news on planet Earth. And the example I always give is everybody should have a local list. Just because, don't you want to know what's happening in your neck?
Yeah, I did that with the Michigan media list the other day.
Yeah, but I mean, even more broad, that like I have one that's just Cleveland, and I've sort of lumped like Cleveland bloggers and museums and restaurants, sort of like just Cleveland. Like I'll just put people in Cleveland. And the other day I was taking my son to music, and as I approached downtown, there was smoke coming up on the horizon, and I was like, I wonder if there's a fire. So I when I pulled in to drop them off, did I turn on the radio? No. I just picked up my phone and I went to Cleveland List, and there, like 25 seconds prior, the Cleveland Fire Department had tweeted that there was a fire on East 55th Street. I'm sure that the news probably didn't get that out like the radio for at least another 45 minutes. So that's why revolutions can happen, across the world in a matter of hours with Twitter, and that's ultimately what makes Twitter different than Facebook or anything else, is that it's so open. You don't have to have a reciprocal relationship with anyone to communicate with them. You really just need to know their handle. So I'm getting past lists now, but that's lists. So it's just really being able to segment any group you want and then listen. And at that point, if you see a conversation that you have an opportunity to jump into, and where you think you can offer value and you're not going to look like just an interrupter, it's perfectly appropriate. Whereas something like that, it would be kind of weird on Facebook, but you can do that.
Exactly. And I think it's been really cool to notice in my feed when I've been added to somebody else's list, because you don't necessarily have to be following them to add them to your list, correct?
Exactly. You do not need to be following them.
I didn't know either until I learned that from Jen. I've learned so much. I mean, I'm like an intermediate advanced social media expert. I've been around since before there was the internet. We know it, back on the Genie network, the General Electric had about the time CompuServe started. I was a forum whiz-op, dating myself, and a senior staff member for 5 of the top forums on CompuServe way back when from my farm. I think I was the only person online in Santa Ana County at that time. But there were things, you can't know everything. So you find people that know what they're doing, that you can trust what they're saying, what they're teaching, who do what they're saying, and explain why and why not. And Jen's one of those people for me. So if you liked what you heard today, give her a few more props before we end the show today.
Answer
another question here from Cindy. Yep.
So the list can be private or public. So it seems there may be advantages to both. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yes.
So with public lists, one thing that's really strategic is, for example, like Kat could create a list that say, ideal show interview guests. Okay. Or let's say you have a podcast, awesome guests on my podcast. What happens is, as soon as you add them to a public list, they get notified. So I call this the tap on the shoulder technique, because what is going to happen is they're going to get notified that they were just added. I have some that are called like Smarty Pants. I have a list called Smarty Pants, and a list called Charming Accents, and a list called
John and Walter are going on Charming Accents. So and wait till you meet my Peter's Stewart from Scotland too. He's the Talkinator. He wasn't here today.
Yeah, you guys from Scotland, all you people from across the pond, let me tell you, I said this in a live stream today. If you're doing a lot of business over here in the States, you need to be live streaming, because people will buy from you just because of the way you talk. Like we love it. We can't get enough. So let us hear more of it, and like get out in front of people. Get in front of the camera. Don't be shy. We love it, love it, love it. But anyway, so they're going to get alerted. And if you make it provocative, the name of the list, they're going to click back and do what? Look at your profile that you've tricked out with all your stuff. And they're going to see, oh my gosh, this person is a painter. I've been looking for a painter, oh my goodness. And so, so it's really cool. The private ones, the way that I use those are like, I have certain media contacts. I don't necessarily want other people jumping in on that, or maybe I have people I'm just prospecting, like there's people I've got my eye on that would be great to do a joint venture with. And I don't necessarily want people to see that, whatever. So the private ones are just your resources. And then the rest of them, and the other thing is your list can become shareable content. People can subscribe to your list, so you could find other people's lists, click subscribe, and they get added to your list. So you don't have to go to the trouble of curating all this information. Other people have done that for you, and they're so valuable, some of these lists, you can't believe. And then if you want to share your list with your tribe or in your email, John, he sends one out once a week. So when you create a list, let's say, of all your favorite books, let's say, your favorite authors, and you want to share that with your tribe on your email list, there's a link and you can put it in your email and say, I've created this list on Twitter of all my favorite authors. And it's a wonderful piece of content.
Right. And then you're helping other people shine, and it's a gentle promotion. People are seeing the value in working with you, following you. It's not sales, 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 sales. This is what I got. This is how cool I am. No, it's better to be sharing other people. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, Jen's summer camp is starting soon. If you can't make summer camp, I highly recommend that you knock on the door of the front row, her Facebook group. She calls that her online classroom. And I'm adopting that for my Rocking Your Path community because it's awesome. And even on her website, it's called her, she doesn't say, come visit my Facebook group. It's come join. There's my free online classroom. Oh, awesome. That so accurately states the value you give people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So it's just awesome. I like following two types of people. A few people that are doing it so wrong, they make me laugh. And then I know what not to do. And I always have good examples of things not to do. And then I love following people who are doing it right. And I always know that there's something more I can learn to do more effectively in my business. All right. Thank you, Jen Lehner from Shaker Heights, Ohio, down by Cleveland. This is Kat Sturtz from the Upper Thumb of Michigan, saying goodbye, and we'll see you next week for Fast Action Fridays. Our special guest will be John Morris, a painter, artist, musician, and minister from Scotland, reminding you to keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye-bye.